You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Thursday. It is noon Central. It is 1 p.m. Eastern. It is time for episode 2 of your bi-weekly options extravaganza, known far and wide as the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-scintillating network upon which so many of you folks are just binging your little hearts out there. We love you all. Keep rocking and rolling and driving up my bandwidth bills. I like you all. And of course, if you want even more content, that binging is not enough. We have not sated you yet. You need to go above and beyond. What would you say to perhaps, 2 additional programs, like let's say Great Pro Q&As, as well as unusual activity paloozas like Options Oddities at the end of the week? What about, maybe some awesome giveaways? Going to do one of those in a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. As well as, of course, live access to this and everything else we do here on the network. Great chats, communities, questions bumped up to the top of the list. All sorts of fun and more to come. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to commence your journey to the dark side. I do want them to, haven't done it yet, I do want them to add the /dark side there as well. Right now we got the cool /secret club. We probably should add /dark side while we're at it too, because it just sounds fun. A lot of fun being had over there at the Pro. Check it out if you have not done so already. Let's check out who's joining us here today. First, let's go out to a quiet, a sleepy, and probably a sad hamlet, given what's going on in the markets today. It is the land of St. Charles. We are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, how go things in the sad hamlet of St. Charles today, sir?
Oh, it's always happy in St. Charles. And so, in the buy and hold strategies, we buy and hold. In the short-term strategies, we wait for better entry points sometimes. But what it boils down to is I like to wake up every day thinking, how can I drive up Mark's bandwidth bill? And that's where we're at.
That is kind of his daily mission in life. And so far, he is succeeding. Let's go out now to the rockingest of lobsters. By the way, listeners, these two before showtime we're singing a fun duet about short volatility. We'll have to see if we can get them to reprise that here on the show. I'm, of course, joined by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show. A and B, do you feel like reprising any of your musical talents for our listeners, sir?
The problem is I'm so old I can't even remember what my jingle was. So
it's gone. It's already gone.
It's already on my head. You got to grab it while it's there, and you have to just enjoy the richness of it while it's going on. So I would love to say I can't. What was I? I don't even remember. So yes, it is a dark and stormy day in Maine today. To do your heart good.
Yes, once again, we have called it into being, the dark and stormy shores of Maine. It fits well with a dark and stormy market. So let's get to it. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading, what is lighting up our tapes out there today. And as I alluded to earlier, Uncle Mike sad face today because it is all red on the screens yet again. Listeners, not too long ago, we were hanging out at that 4,300 level thinking, could we charge north? Seemed like it might be a little bit of a resistance to the downside. We have, of course, broken well past that now, listeners, off another 1% today. S&P well below the 4,000 level, threatening 3,900. Let's see, we bounced off it, 3,904 this morning, listeners, before rallying a little bit. So we couldn't quite break 3,900 today, but we are threatening S&P off exactly 1% as we were kicking off the show here today. NASDAQ saying, hold my bear, kid, off nearly 2%, 1.99%. You want a little bit more with NASDAQ? We've got Scott Nations joining us for the first time ever on TWIFO coming up in a little over an hour. Of course, the creator of VolQ, the NASDAQ volatility product. He also talks a lot about all their futures options products out there. Should be a fun show, so stay tuned for that. All you live folks, you'll have that in your ear holes after option block. All you folks listening to the old OB, just be patient and hit next after you're done with this, and hopefully TWIFO will be there waiting for you on the on-demand side. And, of course, the Dow off, not quite 0.5%, about 0.4% or so out there. So the Dow playing the laggard on this red day on the screen. And, of course, markets are red. That means vol is green. VIX, a little bit north of 27 when we kicked off the show, about a 27.10. That puts it up a little over 1 point, about 1.3 points from where it was this time last week. So, yeah, we are a far cry from the sub-20 handle we hung out in for the better part of a week. Just a couple of weeks ago, listeners, how times have changed. VVIX, so the vol hanging out at a 90 still. That puts it pretty much exactly unched from where it was on Monday's show. So no change from a vol perspective. VXX, who knows what the hell this product is. They probably should take it out of the rundown now at this point. 19 3/4 right now, up about a quarter. We were talking about this on our pro Q&As. We had some questions about the vol products. And our old friend, the Last Emperor, who has been on this option block show many times back in the past, was also slamming VXX and saying about what a shame it is what they've done to that product. And that is indeed true. UVXY 1080 up about 0.5 point. So everybody was out there saying, when are we going to get the reverse split? Not today, listeners. Market doing that for you, bringing us back up north of a 10 handle. If we're north of a 10 handle, you're not getting a reverse split. That's pretty much for certain. SVIX, so our inverse friend, taking a bit of a breather today at about a 12 even when we kicked off the show, down not quite 0.5 point, about 0.4 point. UVIX, so our levered friend, 11 1/4, up about 3/4 point. And VolQ, just talking about it. Its creator is going to be on in about a little over an hour here on TWIFO. 32 even when we kicked off the show, up not quite 2 points, about 1 3/4 points. All right, the table has been set. Let's go around the horn. Since he's our resident bull, maybe we'll save him for last because maybe he'll cheer us up. We'll go instead to the dark and stormy shores of Maine because he's always dark and stormy himself, and that's kind of fitting for the markets we have today. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what is lighting up your tape on a dark and stormy day in the markets?
Well, there's a lot of red on the screen.
Oh, yeah, I haven't noticed. Where are you looking?
Right now. I think what are we flirting with 3,900 now after 3,918? I think we've been through it once or twice today. I mostly feel like this is a market that everybody was front running. We were pretty huge front running in the month of August on some inflation pivot, I believe. I don't know how folks actually thought that they weren't going to keep raising rates because, in my view, the Fed has created a bit of a disaster. So has the federal government. I think both administrations, actually, let's just go all the way back to George W. Bush, destroying the very, let's just say, balanced budget that we used to have.
Yeah, Cheney came out and said, but deficits don't matter. Reagan proved it, right? So he just kind of kiboshed all of that. And if you can't count on a Republican to balance a budget, what do you got, sir?
I know, but it's like you got no. At some point, certainly you could have economic growth, but you have to stop spending, and that's spending as a percentage started to decline under Clinton, right? Because we had Robert Rubin, probably best Treasury Secretary ever. And then
until he stepped down and hosed the SPX pit when I was standing in. Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah.
A little bit of information leakage. Just maybe. Just maybe. Why is everybody buying puts at 5 minutes after they open on the morning?
They were right? Because, I guess Summers wasn't bad. But anyways, you have basically all the presidents at this point for the last 20 years are like, it's cool. We're going to spend. So, and the Fed governors are complaining. Anyway, so that's my gripe, right? So nobody is minding the store anymore. And now we have inflation, and I think to some degree we're going to have to pay the piper on it. Since it's mostly self-created, it's just dumb policy, and politicians are greedy little people. Will it? Can the Fed raise rates enough to kind of kill inflation? Yes. I think a second part of the problem is just, what I can only call now is a global chaotic energy policy. Because winter comes and everybody needs to heat their house. All right. The green energy thing is not ready anywhere close to support that type of infrastructure. So to deny fossil fuels to Germany or, half of Eastern Europe or half of Europe it's all madness, right? So now we're stuck with this, geopolitics of the Russian, all of these sanctions that have frankly done nothing. So the Fed has to fight inflation. However, the root cause of the problem is probably, let's just call it a lack of policy gumption when it comes to this Russia-Ukraine thing. All we're doing is causing problems for ourselves, basically. So I think it's going to be hard for the Fed to help solve this problem since a lot of it is an energy squeeze. So how long will it go on? I don't know. And I think that's a market finally is trying to figure out to some degree, things aren't so bad, right? Well, as far as in the U.S., they weren't. But it could be made worse, right? You keep jacking up rates to kill inflation, but you have public policy that is not dealing with the fact that it's high energy prices that are kind of the culprit, and they're high because of all this geopolitical stuff, and nobody's really kind of using their head at this point. So anyway, I think that's where. And I think the market will be essentially rudderless for a while. So we're going to get an inflation CPI report on the 15th. And then the Fed, I'm sure, will be, 75 basis point raise, and we'll just keep doing it. And the market has to decide, what pony to ride on. So as of right now, they can't ride on the pivot pony anymore. So they have to figure out what they want to ride on. And that's where we find ourselves. So I think it's a stock picking market, but when markets look like this, in my head, I'm like, okay, every week I'm going to look for something to buy. I'm not trying to pick the bottom, but it's just going to be ugly. But it is an opportunity, I think, because I think the world was getting ready for this post-COVID, get back to normal. And this inflation and the Ukraine thing really threw a monkey wrench in everything. And the supply chain issues as well, right? With all the dollars that came flooding out from all these governments. So you have multiple problems that, again, are yet to be solved or anywhere close to being solved. And I think, the market kind of woke up from its, I don't know. I think it was a little on a party for the month of August, like, whoo, everything's going to be cool again. And now we're realizing maybe it won't be cool again for a little while. So that's why I'm a little bit of a rant, but that's what we got.
While you were talking, I was just looking up the infamous policy change. It's the exact date that was when Powell came out and said, "Yeah, we don't really care about inflation anymore. We're going to let it run a little bit." That was back in August of 2020. It seems like a lifetime ago. Now, these comments don't seem to have aged very well in the intervening 2 years. They were talking about he was worried about inflation being too low, and previous regimes had been a little bit too aggressive on the inflation front. And, long-term low inflation could actually be damaging. So they're going to let it run a little bit. And when they asked later, what range he'd be content with, they were thinking about 2.25% to 2.5%. That's what they would be content with. And lo and behold, all of that has fallen by the wayside. I'm guessing if he could go back, he probably would take back a lot of those comments that day. But that's a comment for another day. We could bash the Fed all day if we like, and a lot of people are out there doing that. We don't need to be jumping into that boat. It's certainly been a challenging period to be a Fed chairman. I will give them that. But outside of that, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, let's lighten things up here a little bit. Let's have a little fun. What's lighting up your tape in an otherwise not exactly fun market for Uncle Mike? And then when you're done, Uncle Mike, I will have a fun surprise for you and for the audience.
Ooh, I'm excited. Well, I'll start off, since Andrew is bailing on the duet. I got a jingle for you, Andrew. Andrew's trading options. Wow, wow, wow. Making lots of money now. How's that?
Wow. Just off the cuff. Look at that. The jingle machine. That is Uncle Mike. He is now available on Upwork.com. You can hire him for your jingle purposes out there. You need a jingle in 5 minutes? Uncle Mike, and he'll even sing it for you. Wow. That's a skill, sir. That's a skill.
So what I've always wanted to do is, I don't know, you guys remember that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, I used to love that show.
I've always wanted to be on that show when they freestyle the songs like that. That's my dream. I hope to do that someday.
Really? But freestyle singing. I can see you're showing new sides to yourself every show, Uncle Mike.
Hey, I used to do it all the time when my kids were babies and putting them to bed. We used to do the idie-didies and the hoedowns with them. And by gosh, my 1-year-old, when my kids were a year old, they used to love it. Now they don't even want to admit that they even know me if I ever start getting into that. But I don't blame them for that, quite honestly. In terms of the markets today, the indicator that I have is that since we started this show, the market is averaging approximately just under 1 point per minute. So if we can get a constant broadcast, by the end of the day tomorrow, we'll be ahead on the year. So that's my proposal of how we manage risk right now. But on a serious note, I agree with everything Andrew is saying. I think the key question is right now is, are all of the dark and stormy, awful things with which he is saying, are those factored into this roughly 20% pullback in the market since the peak in January? And that is the key question right now. The bull case at this stage would be 3,900. From a technical standpoint, in looking at a chart, we had resistance at 3,900 in late June, in early July, and it acted as a support level, approximate levels, in early May, as well as once again in late May. So around these levels, we have kind of sort of some pivot points in recent history. So the bull case would be, okay, well, we've had that, and we've pulled back. We're actually down. The peak of the recent rally was on August 16th, and the high that day was 43.25. And so that means over the course of 2 weeks and 1 day, we've come down a pretty significant amount. So at some stage, markets typically tend to bottom. And by typically tend, I mean 100% of the time in the history of the entire U.S. stock market, they have bottomed at some stage. So the key question right now is, when is it going to bottom? 3,900 is definitely a unique number. I know I said that on Monday about 4,000. 4,000, we had the 50-day moving average, plus we had the big round number, but 3,900, there's also a case for that. Now, of course, the bad news this time around is that from what I'm seeing, the next level of support with which we have doesn't come till the low 3,700. So if we break 3,900, I think that could be cause for concern for more markets, or for more things dipping even further. Now, in terms of other things in the news today, it looks like China is quarantining a lot of people today, so that can't be a good thing by any means for the markets. Also, there is some trade issues, and that it doesn't seem like our countries are really getting along too well with chips. And so the chip sector is not pleasant today. Just looking at NVDA as one example, that's down over 11% on the day. So that's definitely some bad news that's holding down the markets as well. Now, the other thing that's still that interests me about this market is the fact that this is another one of those days to where stocks are down as well as bonds. And 10-year note yield is going a lot higher right now. And that means the value of the note itself is going a lot lower right now. A lot of times when stocks and bonds go down at the same time, money appears somewhere in the near future. Now, is it going to appear in bonds? I don't know. People are so scared of rate hikes, it might not go there. Is it going to appear in stocks? Well, maybe all these evil things are going to happen that Andrew talks about, and it's not factored in as of yet. So maybe it's there, but I personally have a hard time believing that all the money is going to stay in VIX calls for that much longer. I could be wrong. We will see. But that's kind of where it's at. And I know this is shocking, but even Bitcoin is down on the day. So we have that. Also, commodities are down. We have silver down a pretty decent amount, over 1% on the day. Oil is down almost 3% on the day. And then natural gas somehow is not down with all of this. So interesting day to say the least. I do feel that we are in kind of a, for lack of a better term, a pre-shuffle or pre-allocation shuffle market, meaning when we see what non-farm is in the future, we're going to, you'll see the money appear somewhere. I just don't know where it's going to appear. And that's what I'm seeing.
All right, Uncle Mike, you put on your singing pants for us before. Now I need you to switch very quickly to your picking pants. Are you ready? You got your picking pants on?
I got my picking pants on. I'm ready to do some picking.
All right, here we go then. All right, I have fired up our random number generator. Listeners, it is September 1st. Hard to believe. The month of August, which includes the options day of days, the greatest holiday in the options calendar, is now concluded, alas. And now we have commenced September. We are back into the fall here. But that also means all you folks in our pro are celebrating right now because one of you, a lucky one of you, is about to win the August Pro Trading Crate. All right, I got the numbers flashing before me. Uncle Mike, you know this dance. You won our Wrestler pick from earlier this week, so you win the chance to pick the winner for this month. So when you are ready, sir, when the mood strikes you, you will say stop, and I will pause it, and we will see who the machine has chosen. Are you ready, sir? Or really, who you have chosen. So, yeah, go for it, sir.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. No,
oh,
no.
Bam, bam, bam. Okay, I got it. All right, we are paused here. There we go. All right, let's see. Who does that coincide to? Mr. OG, Mr. Option God. I see you floating around the live chat. Congratulations, sir. You can thank Uncle Mike. His picking pants worked out for you. You are now the winner of the August Pro Trading Crate. You are a lucky fellow. Our producers will reach out to you. They will inquire about your clothing sizes as well as some other choices you have to make for what you'd like included in your box. And then the rest is going to be up to us. It's bespoke. I can't even see it right now. There's a big pillar blocking it between me and the studio here. Listen, I can see just the side of the giant mountain of items that we give to you guys. I could just see part of it right now. There's more of it down there in the vault. We keep bringing it up to send out to you folks. So our producers will follow up. Congratulations to everyone. It's easy to win. All you have to do is be active in the pro during the month of August. So get in there if you haven't for the month of September. You join in now. You're active anytime throughout the month. You are eligible to win our next Pro Trading Crate. You literally can't get this stuff anywhere else. They are completely bespoke, completely one-off. We're kind of crazy for sending you guys this stuff. I guess we like you. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort, no small expense on our part, but we like you folks, so we keep doing it. And you know what else we like? Let's break down some numbers here for the market today, because it's one of those usually days that are heavy red. They tend to generate a little bit of VIX paper, and we're seeing that right now. VIX north of 500,000, ever so slightly right now, 504,000 contracts on the tape. The ADV 406, so we are well north of that today. Going to be that way, close to that way, at least across the board. 4.5 million right now for SPY. So that's well north of half of its ADV. The ADV is about 6.35 million out there. The S, 1.5 million contracts already. So the S is not playing around today. The ADV about 2.25 out there. Small caps, IWM, over 1 million already, 1.02 million. So small caps saying, hold my bear, kids. We can do some numbers too. The ADV out there, 803. That's already inflated. And it's blowing past that. And the Qs, of course, the Qs can do some numbers. Not quite at their ADV, but getting pretty darn close. 1.8 million out there. The ADV, 2.4. So far, small caps and VIX, the first two to blow past their ADV today. Let's see what's blowing away out there from an overall volume perspective. And it's a fairly active day. It's not, the most active day we've ever seen, at least on the bottom half. Top half gets a little bit top heavy. We'll get there in a second. Cost you 222,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's not nothing. That gets you to the old Google, a.k.a. Alphabet. It's actually just ticked up right now on the day after being down for a lot of the day. It's at 108, almost 108.5 right now. Up slightly. It got up to 110.5 earlier today in the low of 107.30. So had quite a big range today, hence the numbers we're seeing out there. Then we go to number 9, the Rock Lobster's favorite. This is good old Softy, 232,000 contracts for number 9. 257.40 is where Microsoft's hanging out right now, off about $4 or about 1.5% on the day. Then we go to number 8. We're going Mimi again, listeners. Going to Bed Bath & Beyond. I think it's going beyond today to the dark side. $8.95 is where it's trading right now, off about 60 cents or a little over 6% on the day. Let's see, the high for the day was $9.40. And right now doing 274,000 contracts on the tape for this one. Then we go to number 7. This one's been a frequent offender on the top 10. This is 3M, 355,000 contracts. Although, Mr. Rock Lobster, I think you may have some insight into why 3M is putting up so many numbers today, so much contracts today. What's your eye of the Cyclops telling you about 3M today?
Yeah, Mark and I were trying to figure it out, actually. So the 200 strike reversal in September has gone up 200,000 times over the last couple of days. So, I mean, 3M they have some kind of a lawsuit, maybe against their earplugs, I think. That's what I heard, which was kind of odd to me. But it's all reversal conversion action, and it's well in front of the dividend. So I cannot figure out why somebody is continuing to pile up this trade. It is real. It's a head scratcher. I have to be quite honest with you. It's a huge head scratcher right now why they're doing it. But why would you put up 200,000 at the 200 strike reversal conversions in there? It's it's a little bit mind boggling, to be quite honest.
Take that paper away, listeners, and 3M's nowhere near our top 10, but right now it is at number 7. Number 6, the artist formerly known as Facebook, now Meta, 402,000 contracts for number 6. We're starting to get up there now. 162.15, off about $0.0075 right now for Meta. Number 4, the Amazonian, 655 out there. So we're jumping up quite a bit from, actually I skipped one. Number 5, AMD. These, the chip names are usually hanging out together. The fact that one of our other chip friends is not right here should give you some indication of what's going on at the top half of our most actives today. We got AMD number 5, 543,000 contracts. That one's off a little bit on the day. If I can get that one pulled up here. We got Amazon first. There we go. AMD, that would be easier. There we go. About $80 right now, off nearly $5. All the chip sector just feeling the weight today of the issues with China that Uncle Mike alluded to earlier. Number 4, we've got the Amazonians, 125.25, off about $1.50 today. Good for 655,000 contracts, though, for number 4. Then we jump up again to number 3. We're over 1 million now, listeners. The fruit company, Apple, 1.08 million. 155.80 is where Apple is trading right now, off nearly $1.50, or not quite 1%. Let's see, on the day, it got as high as 157.68, and the low was 154.67. So a nice, pretty much exact $3 range on the day. We are closer to the bottom half than the top half of that right now, but intriguing stuff out there. Wasn't that long ago. Apple looks like it was threatening that all-time high of 182.94. Not quite there again right now, 155 and about 3/4 or so right now. So ticking around a little bit Then we go to number 2. We can probably guess what's somewhere in the top 2 here. And actually, it is at number 2. It is NVIDIA. All this chip madness, NVIDIA kind of feeling the brunt of that off nearly 16 handles or 10.5% right now, trading 135.10. I started off the day 143.80, got as low as 132.70. So an $11 range for NVIDIA out there. As we rebounded a little bit off the lows, of course, all that coming on the weight of the U.S. government restricting chip sales to China. So that's obviously going to hurt NVIDIA. This name, not too long ago, was trading 190. August 15th, it was printing 190. My goodness, just a few weeks later, we are now at 135. So they have come for NVIDIA. And of course, over the past year, it is net down about 40% on the year. And of course, forget about from the highs. The highs were 346. It is nowhere near that now. So yeah, rough times here for NVIDIA. Named that for a long time there. It seemed like it could not go down. A day that ended in Y, NVIDIA was up. Today, not the case. That means number 1, managing to outpace everything yet again, is Tesla. 1.34 million. Tesla rocking and rolling today. Let's see, 269, just ticked below 270. 269.95 right now, off about 5 2/3, a little over 2%. On the day, got as high as 275.84 and as low as 266.15. So it's done a little bit of living today out there as well, and good enough for 1.34 million contracts on the tape. Those are impressive numbers. In terms of earnings this week, we had some names popping off. Let's see, we've got some move results going hot right now from our friends over there at Orax. Let's go to Five Below. They were yesterday after the bell. 127.88 is where they were trading going into their announcement. They're pricing in 8.1%. They delivered 6.2%. So perhaps not as much vol as you thought in the premium dollar store sector, aka Five Below. This is a name I was not aware of until Brian did it on his OPR a few months ago. This is Ollie's Bargain Outlet Holdings. This is actually it was founded in Pennsylvania. I just never encountered an Ollie's in the wild, apparently. Ticker symbol OLLI, OLLI. They were popping off before the bell today. They were printing 55.31 going into their announcement. They're pricing in, get this, listeners, 8.6%. They delivered 1.4%. My goodness, they were pricing in a lot of juice in Ollie's Bargain Outlets, and apparently it was overblown. Wow. Intriguing stuff. After the bell today, we have Lululemon. They were trading pretty much exactly $300 when we ran these numbers this morning. They were pricing in $19.60 in that straddle. In the past, they've moved about 16.25. So a little bit of extra juice in the home of the invisible yoga pants. Coming up next week, really quickly, we've got GameStop. You may have heard of them. 7th after the bell. They were at $28.64 when we ran these numbers. They were pricing in $3.49. In the past, they've moved $3.61. So a little bit less juice in the land of GameStop. Of course, I mentioned where we are on the season right now, 126%. So far and away, the most robust cycle we have witnessed since the onset of the pandemic. So impressive stuff out there. Got news trades going up in the earnings trades report today as well. Ollie's. Everybody's loving Ollie's. They're picking up a straddle in Ollie's today, as well as a straddle in Patterson Companies, PDCO. And they're also buying calendars in Lululemon and there we go. And Smartsheet, ticker symbol SMAR. So new trades piling into the earnings trades report. Check it out for yourselves completely for free, theoptionsinsider.com. Click on the options news and articles tab to check out all that for yourselves as we keep on rolling. Time to see what our Eye of Sauron has found for us today. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get weird, we get wild, we get whimsical. Our chat's always fun and wild. And having a good time celebrating right now. Option God's excited. He's in there, says, thanks, I'm so excited. Yay for me for winning. Well, congratulations, Options God. You certainly deserve it. Frank loving it. Congrats, Option God. We bow down to the God. I like that. A lot of nice congratulations. You know, some people could be bitter they didn't win, but they're nice. They're a nice bunch in their listeners. They congratulate each other when they win. We like to see that. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to join the ongoing party that is the pro fun. Let's get on out here. And Mr. Rock Lobster, in a day when everything's red on the screen, would you be surprised if I told you that our Eye of Sauron came back? Not with a lot of put buys, but a lot of people selling puts today. So did that surprise you?
It would not surprise me. Mostly just, on the even from TOSAW's conversation, like how, ultimately you gotta dip your foot in the pond a little bit when stocks are cheaper, right? That's how you end up making money in the stock market. You gotta buy them when nobody wants them. So it would not surprise me totally that people are selling puts today, I have to say. So,
well, let's find out. Yeah, you got to scroll pretty far to find anything from our Eye of Sauron that was not a sizable put sale. So let's start off with this one name we haven't talked about in a long time. Kind of an infamous name. This is AIG. Many blame them for being the catalyst that kicked off the great meltdown back in 07, 08 out there. They're selling puts to the world effectively. Completely uncollateralized puts. Go figure, that could be a bad thing. But AIG, ticker symbol, AIG, of course. And trading right now, $51.82. On the year, they've kind of done a whole heck of a lot of nothing net, off about 5% or nearly $3. But that kind of belies how much they've actually moved. A year ago, they were 55.25. Then they rallied up in November to 61.08. Then they sold off hard again in November, end of November, beginning of December. December 1st, actually, they were back to 51.75. Then they shot up again in January, 61.87. Then back down to 56.5 by late January. Then back up again in February, $63. And then back down by March 7th to $54. Then back up again to their high for the year on April 20th of 65.75. And they couldn't maintain that, listeners. They gave up some of that. June 7th, they were $59.50. And they fell off a cliff down to $49 on June 16th. And they hit their low for the year on July 14th of $48.40. Before trying to make it back, they had a valiant effort. They shot up on August 4th from $51 all the way to about $57.50 on August 12th. Hung out there for a while. And ever since then, they've been giving up that ghost. Back to where they are right now again, $51.80. So net, not much net movement on the year, but a whole lot of living being done in between there, listen. It seems like someone, Mr. Rock Lobster, has decided this far and no farther. They are emulating what AIG did, but hopefully they have the collateral to back this up because they're blasting away at some puts, selling 10,000, a nice round 10,000 lot of the AIG SEP 50 puts, 5-0, so almost $2 out of the money. They got 92 cents for these, which is a 33 vol. And again, given how much the stock has moved around of late and the fact that it got down to $48 not too long ago, that's probably merited. That's a decent amount of juice for AIG. And the stock was actually a little bit lower. It's 51.25 when they sold these. So these are already looking a little bit better right now as the stock has rallied about 60 cents. There are no earnings in this cycle. The next earnings is on November 3rd. So Mr. Rock Lobster looks like a very straight up old school, sizable line in the sand put, this time on the 50 strike for 92 cents, 10,000 times. What say you, sir?
It does, and on the savvy scale, I think it's pretty good. I even think they might have got the low of the day.
Yeah, I don't hate this one. Yeah,
I mean, this is, and again, for the listeners, if you want to sell puts, it's much easier to sell puts in stocks you want to own. It's much easier to sell put spreads in stocks you want to own because that way you control your entry price. That's all I'm going to say about the line in the sand put and for the average person and the line in the sand put for the institution. That is going to end up buying 1 million shares of AIG anyway because they need dividends to pay pensions, or they'll take the 92 cents for a week and they'll pay the pensions, or they'll get the divvy, eventually for that. So, have your goal of your trade in mind. And if you're a pension fund that needs to raise money on a monthly basis to pay stuff out, you need some kind of an income thing, right? You need to raise cash. So just, FYI, segregate kind of the ideas that you have and what your goal is with them. But as this one goes, I think it's probably a pretty good one for anybody who wanted to buy the stock for sure.
Yeah, I don't hate this one. Not a long time frame, a decent amount of juice, decent level. I don't hate it at all. Now the stock has moved, so alas, you cannot repeat it, listeners, but intriguing stuff nonetheless. All right, speaking of repeating, twice in one show. This is a record because we've never really talked about it before. This is Ollie's. Ollie's is back. Ollie's Bargain Outlet Holdings, Inc. Ticker symbol OLLI, OLLI. Somewhere right now, Mr. Overby's ears are burning with excitement. Ollie's, by the way, Mr. Rock Lobster, guess what the name of the founder of Ollie's Bargain Outlet was?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say Ollie.
No, Morton Bernstein and Mark Butler. Apparently, one of the guys who backed him, though, his name was Ollie. I guess he insisted for his money, you must name the chain after me.
I think that's not a bad deal, though.
Yeah, I guess it's just funny. Morton and Mark, and they named it Ollie's. I love it.
And they named it Ollie's.
Well, there you go. You know, surprise the things you learn on the option block, listeners. It's crazy. Ollie's trading right now a little bit shy of $54, $53.92. They've had a rough year, off nearly 26% on the year. A year ago, they were trading $72.50, and then they kind of gave it up in March. They actually hit their low for the year in March, $37.67. So not quite a month after the whole invasion and all the madness was popping off there. Then they rallied hard again. They tried to make it back. They were actually up on the year again. They got up to 71.17 on July 8th. So that's a huge move from 37.67 to 71.17 by July 11th. Man, wow. They really clawed their way back. And then they kind of couldn't maintain it. And then most recently, August 25th, they were trading about $66. And then they've fallen off a cliff since then, back down to where they're at now, $53.94. So, man, volatile bargain outlet out here. Let's see what we found out here. Oh, surprise, surprise. More line in the sand puts, Mr. Rock Lobster. This time, someone going out to the SEP 45 puts. So I said we're just a little bit shy of 54 right now, Mr. Listeners. They sold 3,595 of the SEP 45 puts for 26 cents. That is about a 62 vol, which, again, looking at this chart, that is merited. This bargain outlet moves. I should note, by the way, that this is post-earnings. I mentioned them earlier. Obviously, they've said their earnings report. We just talked about it. So these are someone coming in immediately after the earnings announcement and trying to harvest what vol is left before it goes the way of the dodo. Mr. Rock Lobster, almost 4,000 of the SEP 45 puts for 26 cents. What do you think about these? And our new favorite name, Ollie's Bargain Outlet Holdings, Inc., founded, of course, by Morton and Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, a decent put. I think this feels like a little more aggressive one, only because I guess the earnings have come out, okay, I don't know. I take that back. Maybe not so aggressive, but I don't think it's a bad sale, but same rationale. You definitely want to buy the stock at that level, but you're right. Yeah, I think they're trying to squeeze the last bit of juice out of this one, and it appears that they're gonna be right. So, but the market's still about right there. But with earnings out and $10 out of the money, you're like, not a bad play. Not a bad play at all.
All right, we'll get out of here on one more here. Let's go out to our August 8th show and see if our trader made some money or not. August 8th, we reviewed some folks loading up on some calls in New Holdings Limited. This is a Brazilian fintech out of Sao Paulo. They're effectively a digital banking name. A ticker symbol NU, N-U. And let's see. At the time, we profiled 10,247 of the AUG 5 calls. People were gobbling them up, lifting the offer for 30 cents. This was a 107 vol. The stock was $4.81 at the time. And let's see, they had earnings on the 15th. So this was very much an earnings play as well. So they were swinging for the fences. Like a total of 24,000 went up that day. So this was a pretty sizable trade. And then looks like they came in on the 15th. So this was the 8th. And like a week later, on the 15th, they traded 33,000 more of these things. So this was a very active name, very active strike. They picked those up for a quarter. So they were buying more for a quarter, it seems like. And the stock went out. These were the 5 calls for 30 cents and later for 25 cents, listeners, over 50,000 times. And the stock closed, unfortunately, at $4.65. And there were still a whopping 47,000 of these 5 calls open at that time, listeners. So unfortunately, looks like a big ouchie on this one, Mr. Rock Lobster. On that initial print, just the initial print we talked about, the 30-cent kind, they dropped about 300 grand on that first block. And if you add up all the other volume, including the 25-cent kind they bought later, over $1 million, about $1.25 million. Mr. Rock Lobster, they were swinging for the fences in New Holdings Limited, and unfortunately, those fences kept moving, sir. And alas, they dropped the ball, sir. What say you?
Again, interesting. Oh, this is a trade that you're paying off here, right? So yeah, it does appear that. No, I just looks like maybe this went to the sad pile. I feel, it looks like did they scalp out of them? I'm just looking at the open interest right now. But those are gone. So it looks like they're kind of, I think there's just sadness overall. This is, and it's another Brazilian company though, like PBR, but this is digital banking. Digital banking.
Very banking, indeed. And a lot of your questions are digital. At least they're sent in via digital platforms. Let's get to some of those right now. It is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody. Let's get to some of the questions we've actually asked you guys here first, see if we can pay some of those off. We have a twofer going right now, which is kind of interesting. First off, we've asked you guys, the markets obviously rocked by Powell last week. They were still down when we posted this at the start of the week. They're obviously still down now as well. So we're asking you guys, does this second leg of the inflation sell-off have legs? Or will the bulls return with a vengeance? Quite simply, where will the SPX close at the end of Q3? Gave you 4 choices: north of 4,300, the 4,000 to 4,299 range, 3,700 to 3,799, or south of 3,700. Mr. Uncle Mike, we shall go to you first, sir. Have your views changed since the Monday show? What are your thoughts, and what do you think our audience is voting for, sir?
I think the audience is slightly bearish. So, I mean, what do you say, between 3,700 and what was the other number? I apologize.
3,700 and 3,999 on that one, or below 3,700 if you're going dark side.
I think they're 3,700 to 3,999, and I am slightly bullish still. I believe it was 4,100 to 4,300.
Close to it, 4,000 to 4,300. Yeah,
I'm going with that one. So that's where we're at with everything, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
By the way, I didn't tell you we had that flash poll on a Monday's show, I believe it was. We were debating what was better finisher for the 80s wrestlers, Hogan's leg drop or Ultimate Warrior's Gorilla Press Slam. Well, the Warrior Slam won with 62.5% of the vote, sir. Does that surprise you?
No, I mean, we have an intelligent audience. I mean, that's definitely a better finishing move. I mean, obviously Hulk Hogan was a much bigger name, but I mean, I'm willing to bet that my father, who is in his late 70s, he could perform the Hulk Hogan leg drop in a similar fashion that Hulk Hogan performed it. Whereas at my peak of strength, I don't know. I may have been able to have done the Warrior Press on certain people. My party trick in college is I would do overhead presses with people, and I worked up to a 240 pounder. So that's about as high as I got with that.
There you go. You definitely could have got a cheerleader.
So I don't know if I could have done it with the bigger people.
Could have got a cheerleader up there at least, so that would have worked.
That's how it started at parties in college. So,
all right, and then Mr. Rocklop, same question for you. What do you think what is your vote? First off, where S&P is going to be, and what do you think our audience is voting for?
I think the audience is voting for market down, and I think we were like 3,800-ish myself. So.
All right, so you're in the 3,700 to 3,999 range. Do you think our audience is there as well, or are they lower?
Oh no, I think that's where they are.
All right, well, you are correct. 40% exactly choosing that tranche right now. We try to keep them nice wide to give you a lot of room to choose. Listen, make it a little easier for you. And then we have followed by number 2 around here. So the 4,000 to 4,299 level. So north of 4,000, obviously, 22.5%. Then the Uncle Mike bunch, the optimistic bunch, north of 4,300, I should say, 21.3%. So nearly a quarter of you not giving up the ghost just yet. And then to the dark side, below 3,700, 16.3%. Get in there at options if you haven't voted. The time is running out, listeners. Really quickly, you guys, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this. We had a listener ask us about this on our Options Bootcamp show yesterday. It kind of became a big talking point, ended up being a big chunk of the show. There was an article the Journal just put out talking about the options market and expiration, kind of in particular, being a primary driver, a primary catalyst for the massive rally that we saw over the summer, and of course the subsequent VIX decline that we saw. A, I'm curious, did either of you guys read this story? And then B, we asked our audience if they agreed yes or no, and our audience almost 2/3, 60% saying no, 40% for yes. No one choosing what is gamma, which is nice. That's obviously what they were talking about in the article, the impact of gamma around expiration, listeners. The yeses have increased. It was almost 90% no yesterday, so that has increased. I'm curious for either of you. Either of you see this article, and B, do you agree with our audience dismissing it or not?
And you're asking me this one?
I'm asking either of you. Who have either of you seen this article in the Wall Street Journal?
I didn't read the article. And what are they claiming? Like, a gamma squeeze caused the rally?
They said effectively that expiration was a highly volatile thing, which it is, of course, that is true. But then they tried to put out these graphs and everything else saying that the inflection point for the start of the rally back in June was June expiration, and the end of the rally was August expiration. It was expiration that started it and expiration that finished it. And then in the interim there, they tried to make some allusions to just increased overall options volume, ended up sucking the market north.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I was a floor trader for a long time, and I never just had like a short-term option positions. I had like 1 month, another month, another month, another month. So I understand like there's explosive gamma that comes off in these weeklies and stuff like that, but it's not the only position that dealers have. So I can understand there might be something to it. I just have a hard time believing it's big enough to drive, that much gamma is enough to drive. But I could be wrong. But, a lot of times traders have back month, and when they don't, that's when vol goes up. So vol coming in, right, that I have a hard time believing with vol coming in, that would generate a squeeze on the upside, right? Because dealers, part of trading is managing your inventory, as you well know, Mr. Longo. So the dealers are allowing themselves to be squeezed into lower vol while they're letting their calls explode. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense, I have to say. But I have an open mind. I'm willing to learn. But if I'm trading it and I'm scrambling on the upside, I would not be compressing the vol in those option contracts. But that's just me.
No, it's all front month all the time. That's the entirety of their position, sir. And they have nothing else. And that
you have nothing else.
I'm trying to see if I could copy this image for you so you could I could send it so you could just see the charts. They were not subtle in their allusions to the fact, I can't do it right now, but you check it out for yourselves. It's interesting stuff. Again, I'm open-minded as well. I'm willing. I'm not really. I've been outspoken in saying I don't really agree, but I'm willing to be proven wrong if there is some magical evidence to afoot. So far, that is not the case. Yeah, it's these kind of articles that if they just wrote an article that said, hey, options expiration, gamma explodes, these are interesting and crazy periods, maybe you should be a little bit more judicious in trading around them. That's a great article. That's fine. That's useful. When they try to draw this parallel to then all of a sudden expiration is now the catalyst that is the beginning and end. It is the line of demarcation for this entire rally we had over the relatively thin period of the summer. I don't know. Then I start to question the conclusions that are being drawn there. But intriguing stuff. Our audience will be the ultimate arbiter. So far, they're closer to 50-50 than I thought. So interesting stuff as we keep on rolling. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the rest of the week into the weekend. We will start with the Uncle List of Mike. Uncle Mike, if you have any thoughts on this article, have at it. And then B, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week into the weekend until we can gather here together on Monday, outside of just loading up on all the Bitcoins?
Of course. Well, first off, I don't think we're having a show on Monday. We are celebrating Labor Day.
Oh, you're correct.
Mistaken.
You're right. I was planning to labor on Labor Day. Am I the only one? Okay, no laboring on Labor Day.
No laboring. Well, we don't want to belabor the points.
I got so caught up. I just love the shows so much. Why would I take a day off? Even on my birthday, I work. So, yes, okay, Labor Day. I shall have the Labor Day off. That is fun. My producers neglected to remind me because I was so caught up in the show. But Uncle Mike, I can always rely on you, sir. No show on Monday, so what are you keeping an eye on all the way into the misty future of next Thursday, sir?
Aside from the sadness that I'll have that we don't get to do this show for another week, just watching to see if we hold the 3,900. I think this is going to be a key close today. Excuse me, to see if we can close above it. We have non-farm tomorrow, seeing if the chip news from China as well as the quarantines from China become something much worse, and just seeing if that's already been factored in, because maybe 3,900 is the stopping point. Who knows? Seeing that, how things react, and that is what I'm watching.
Mr. Rock Lobster, what are you watching as you are also celebrating the fact you don't have to labor on Monday, sir?
I don't have to labor on Monday. It's very exciting. I'm going to actually try fishing this summer, this weekend. It's been a very busy summer. Don't we have like some non-farm payrolls or something tomorrow? We got something like that. We got something. Looking at that. I believe we do have one. It's one calendar item, I believe. And, 3,900, okay, 3,800, I don't know, 4,000. I think, we need a little bit of, as the market needs a little light at the end of the tunnel. And again, I thought the global economies would do better coming out of the COVID thing. Then I realized, okay, there's been a lot of screw-ups by leadership, basically, I think. And that has dampened the recovery, even though a lot of people, there's still a lot of job openings, although some tech is getting the squeeze a little bit. So again, I'm not really bearish per se. I'm still looking for bargains, but what is the catalyst that drives us up? And to be honest, I don't see it for a while until some of these macro issues get better. So as far as this weekend goes, we'll see what number we get and see if that really moves the needle at all, which at this point, I don't think it will, right? So you have a non-farm payroll number. If it's decent, the Fed's just going to keep on the path, right? Even I think a poor number is not going to stop them at this point. So the inflation is still moving the market, and the Fed is still basically now once again in control. And we're all like, it's the Fed's world, and we just live in it. I'll just leave it with that.
And that music means this episode of the Fed's World closing right now. Don't worry if you need more in your ear holes, listeners. We'll be back in a little bit. So all you live folks, hang out. We'll be back with Mr. Scott Nations holding down the CME Group and FTSE Russell hot seats over there on the old Twifo. Should be fun. He's never been on Twifo before, so that'll be exciting. And before we go, let's go back around the horn. Let's go back the way we just went. Let's go back to the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir. If folks want to hit you up or the attractive Ted, where should they go? What should they do?
Yes, 888-TRADE-01. And we are doing a meet and greet at Option Pit tonight. Go to our Option Pit website. If you want to see me in a webinar and talk about how to trade a little VIX and a little SPY together, check it out. 7 o'clock, you'll learn something. It's free. You can kind of kick the tires on what we do at Option Pit. A lot of education and a lot of trade generation go on a daily basis. We have a huge content stream of videos and entertainment and education and trade ideas on a daily basis for our students.
Ooh, entertainment. So, you going to be singing for the folks?
We try to entertain a little bit. Mark and I kind of put on the funny a little bit sometimes. It does entertain people from time to time.
I got excited when you said meet and greet. I thought you were opening the doors to the GIOVINAZZI compound. I thought the golden ticket was finally at hand, and you could go meet Willy Wonka.
There will be a lobster baked one year, but not this year. We're going to wait till things get a little...
Not this year, says the Rock Lobster. Meanwhile, check it out for yourselves. Get that entertainment. OptionPit.com. You're making me laugh, so you're already working right there. And let's go out to Uncle Mike. He's got content hitting left, right, and center as well. Mr. Uncle Mike, if folks want to consume it all, where should they go? What should they do?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW. I try and put out a lot of content, put out videos, and tweets, and whatnot. Give me a follow. It'll be a lot of fun. Also, if you're looking for a financial advisor who is versed in this thing we called options, feel free to reach out to me. Go to my website. You can make an appointment with me, stcharleswealth.com.
We get some fun entertainment over there as well. Maybe some singing, maybe some gorilla press slams.
You name it.
All right, hit him up. At Mike TOSAW is the place to go to begin your journey on the old Twitters, or stcharleswealth.com is the place as well. We got to get on out of here for all of you on demand. Hit next. Twifo should hopefully be there waiting for you. If not, just wait a little bit. Be patient. All you live folks, you don't have to wait at all. Just coming at you a little bit later for the old Twifo. Back again tomorrow, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for Volatility Views. And after that, for all you pro folks out there, going to get odd with Options Oddities. Then we're not back on Monday, not laboring on Labor Day, but back again on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.